Hospitality Meets is brought to you by RotaCloud, the staff scheduling app for hospitality teams. RotaCloud lets you create and share rotas, record attendance, and manage your team's annual leave, all in less time than it takes to make a brew. It can also make life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request holiday, and even pick up extra shifts, all through the RotaCloud mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotacloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be. Welcome to Hospitality Meets with me, Phil Street, where each week we take a light-hearted look into the stories and individuals that make up the wonderful world of hospitality. Today's guest is Tej Walia, Managing Director of the quite stunning Foxhills collection. Coming up on today's show, Tej reveals what it takes to manage a golf resort.
I have no experience of golf and I don't play golf.
Phil sets some lofty goals.
Hopefully I'll have the meaning of life at the end of all this.
And Tej believes you can always do slightly better.
We can do much better.
All that and so much more as we chat through Tej's wonderful career so far. Tej was very gracious with his time, and there are some wonderful lessons for us all through his story. A huge thank you to him for showing me such wonderful hospitality at Foxhills. As always, if you're enjoying the show, please don't forget to give us a subscribe, a like and a share across your favourite social channels. Enjoy! And a huge Hospitality Meets welcome to Tej Walia.
Nice talking to you, Phil, again. This will be my second stint on the podcast.
Yeah, well, we did a stint on the IOH podcast.
Yes.
We also appeared on a panel together.
Yes, we did actually in the Independent Hotel Show.
Yeah,
we were there, so we were panel together. This was actually in the podcast platform, second time together in some kind of a talk show, third time.
Indeed, yeah. But this time it's all about you.
Oh, wow.
And I'm sure some opinions as well, which will come out in the fullness of the discussion. But for the world, just tell the world who you are and what it is that you do.
So I am Managing Director of our Foxhills collection. I have been with the company for just over 5 years and as an MD for just under a year now. So I look after Foxhills Club and Resort, which is just off Junction 11 of M25, set in a beautiful 440 acres of countryside, just a stone throw away from central London. And also I look after Fawsley Golf Club, which is in the Croydon, East Croydon, Wallingham, that side of the M25. And so, yeah, those are the two. And the fun factor, I manage between myself around just under 75 whole golf courses, if I may put it like that, combined. And I have no experience of golf and I don't play golf. That's the, if I say, fun factor.
No desire to?
No.
No. Golf's one of those games where you it can be the making or the death of you.
It could be, and I don't know whether I want to. I think one of those things, even if I think of sometimes that I pick up golf, then I realize that if my golfing skills or handicap, what they call it, is too good, will I be associated that, MD is spending too much time on the golf course rather than doing the job? So perhaps that is one of the statement also is trying to keep me away. Yeah. And I'm a competitor by nature. So actually, and if I do pick up, I want to be good, but I don't know whether that will go against me. Yeah. So actually, there's all our excuses, but no, not.
I mean, it makes sense though. Yeah. You don't want the MD's obviously he's useless at his job, but really good at golf. But no, that's great. So you're very kindly hosting me here for this. This is one of the joys of the industry that we work in is being able to get out and about and come and see some places. Yeah, certainly wonderful so far. Wonderful arrival. My wife and I commented on this as we turned onto your driveway, as it were, and the big pine trees, and it just feels lovely, like you feel like you've come home.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, that's what I feel. Our mission statement is: you feel better when you leave than when you arrive. Right. And one of the things is that doesn't only apply to our members, our visitors, guests, but I also say to my team, it applies to all of us, i.e. the people who work. Yeah. Because we had an induction today for all the staff members who started with us 1 month or in December. So we do induction month. And one of the things I say to them is this only. I say, forget, very anecdotally, if I may put it like, I said, forget about the customer for a second. I said, remember that mission statement for each other. I said, if you make all of your colleagues feel the same, customer will go happy, because what is happening is we are not creating unnecessary hassle for each other. We are not creating unnecessary processes, friction for each other in the team. We are sympathizing. We are trying to our level best to work as a team. And the byproduct of that would be is the customer leave happy. So yes, so we try to do that. And I'm glad that when people do turn right or left from the main road, and they feel, and then actually the real challenge begins.
Yeah, indeed. Well, ideal human interaction is what it's all
Yeah.
about, ultimately, isn't it? You can have the most beautiful place on the planet, but if the people are not backing that up with their joy of being here, then what's the point in all of this?
Absolutely. That is the key.
Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff. Okay, well, we'll talk a lot more about Foxhills as we get through your
Sure.
journey and get to, I suppose, present day. But what I really want to do first is just go all the way back to the beginning. And how did you get into hospitality in the first place?
Oh, wow. That's going back quite a while.
2 or 3 years, yeah.
Yeah, well, just 2 or 3 years, I think. if I can fool myself or you with that. Going back, I'm born and brought up in India. I've been raised in a defense family. My dad was in the Indian Army. My grandfather served in the British Army, and also I would be lying if I don't say that my first preference was to join in Army, or
Right.
if I may put it, defense services in India.
Yeah.
And for one reason or the other, I was unable to. And hotel management was very up and coming vocation at that time in India. So I had prepared the entrance exam also. I thought that I was never an academic kind of a person. I always wanted to go with, I would have never seen myself studying, doing a MSc, BA, or BSc, something like that kind of thing. I wanted a profession which was much more practical. And hence, maybe that's the reason why I was more inclined towards defense services, which was much more...
It's quite practical.
Yeah, which very, very quite... Or, as I say, hospitality. So I gave entrance exam and then 3 or 4 other rounds of tests and all that, and I got through hospitality, and hence I entered hotel management, which I call. So I did my hotel management from one of the institutes in one of the regions of India.
Right, okay.
So
And what age are you at this point? Is this just post school?
It was post school, so I would say at the I joined hotel management at the age of just under 20. So I would have been 19 or something like that, 18, 19 years.
Yeah.
So I joined that. It was a 3 years graduation where you get experience in all the what they call key departments, and in hospitality generally what they call 4 operational departments, if I may, was kitchen, food and beverage services, front of the house or front office or reception, you want to call it as, and housekeeping.
Yep.
So you have to do all those practical, and along with that, then it was like accountancies and business management and all that. The other what you call subjects were there at that time. We had French as well, because when I was studying hotel management 1995 to 98, when I did my hotel management, in my hotel management, French cuisine is quite has a very influential part especially in academics, actually, if I may put it like that.
Right.
And wines and whiskies and all that, how the different regions of wines and whiskies and all that kind of a thing, New World, Old World, Third World wines and all those kind of things. So hence the French as well comes the language kind of a thing. So yeah, so those all the studies. And then in the second year, so first year you go kind of a thing, and hospitality wasn't that much. So first year was it's a starstruck kind of a thing. You're trying to learn all the different food cuisines and all that kind of a thing. And then in the second year, what used to happen was 6 months of training. So basically second year, 6 months in the college, and 6 months you go and work in a placement in one of the hotels. And my training took place in Taj Hotel, which is quite known in Indian subcontinent, and we have got here also.
And globally.
Globally.
Yeah.
And so I did it in Taj Agra, which is where the Taj Mahal is. So that was, so I did it, my 6 month industrial training there, where again, you work in all the 4 major departments. And what it helps you is help you to kind of see which area, which field within the hospitality you are more inclined to.
Yeah.
Yes, was more geared up towards the 4 key major, core departments. Now we know that there are many other departments also, but as a first-time student of hotel, and when you enter the hotel, you always thought those were the 4 key departments. But we know that there are many other supporting departments without which none of the hospitality industry will survive.
For sure.
But those were there. But you generally tend to work in those 4 main key departments, and that helps you to determine which field you want to go to. So that I did it for 6 months, came back, completed my study, and then I graduated hotel management in 1998.
Right. Well, you've absolutely aged yourself now.
Well, yeah, you could say that.
But I think we're much of the same generation. I think I graduated in 99. So yeah, but I at this point, were you in hook, line, and sinker? Because I think a lot of people as well still will go through the academic element of the training and they get through onto the other side and go, I still don't know if this is the thing that I want to do.
Sure. No, I was actually. Sometimes people ask, oh, what do you do? I said, depending upon what mood, I said, fortunately or unfortunately for my sins, I have always been in the hospitality.
Yeah.
It depends upon the other person. How can that other person take my humor? I was a gator because I like, as I said, I was never an academic kind of person. So I like the practicality of, when I joined hospitality and when I joined the hotel management and when I went for the training, patisserie was my favorite area.
Right.
So when I came out of the hotel management, I always wanted to become a pastry chef because, and actually for one was because that was much sought after thought area at that time. You have to be very skilled. The secondly was a very weird reason was the fact that India, where it's very hot, and patisserie was the only one department in the kitchen where it was centrally air conditioned.
Never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Practical reasons again.
Practical reasons again. So that was not the way. So that was the case. However, as I said, you have many plans for your life. It doesn't work that way. And when I was giving interviews, you have what you call placement interviews in the college when and I was given the opportunity to be front of the house in F&B as I started my career as a waiter in 98 when I passed out. So I thought, you know what, I need a job. Let me enter it. And then if I want to digress and go back to my what we call patisserie, I can.
Yep.
But here I am, 25 years down the line kind of a thing where I started and then I didn't go back.
Right.
So yeah, that's how it was.
Yeah, goodness. But whatever works for you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is that you, whenever you're starting out, you've just got to start. Right, things present themselves as you go, and opportunities present themselves as you go. But just get started and just start doing something that you enjoy as well. I think that's got to be a major part of it. You can't go because it's hard work, and we shouldn't run away from that. There's nothing wrong with hard work, and you spend a lot of hours in work, so you might as well enjoy it while you're there.
Yeah, it is. I know we are talking about it, and I know, Phil, you have attended many of the hospitality events and all that. And one of the panel conversation we were talking about how to reward. Our topic was reward retention and all that. And I say, hospitality, yes, it's a long hours, but it's a profession with certain lifestyle, and it is interaction and all, but you can enjoy it as well, or you can't. And there's nothing wrong with it, you can't. But that doesn't justify abusive working culture and all that. Also, I totally understand. But it's a vocation with the lifestyle. And you have to, because unfortunately, when everybody wants to enjoy, is the time when possibly you will also enjoy. Yeah. But you have to work being in hospitality. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You have to enjoy it. And if you're enjoying it, that's fine. And opportunities can present. And in anything, if you're working hard and you're working with good ethics, and people will notice you, and it will open up the doors of opportunity. If not, till the time you don't become impatient.
Indeed, yeah. So, which were you then? Were you impatient, or were you? Did an opportunity present itself? Because you started as a waiter, as it were. Which company were you with?
So I started my career with Oberoi Hotels, which is again very well known. I pre-opening hotels. So
I
started
had a bad start then.
I actually absolutely. I worked for Oberoi Hotels. For my beginning was there. I worked as a barman, restaurant waiter, banqueting, poolside waiter, and all the. Sometimes even we have a small pre-opening, so training was, I remember still, and I said, I started my career in the Oberoi Hotel Trident Udaipur when it was a pre-opening hotel, and it's in Rajasthan, which in summers gets extremely hot. And I remember in a proper uniform before opening, in the car park, we are carrying a big tray with a glass of water and a jug of water to balancing skills.
Really?
So that the water should not spill.
Right.
And then you're carrying the big tray with bricks
for the weight.
Right. And I had the privilege of going through that training. Perhaps not at that time.
Yeah, didn't feel like a privilege.
No, I can give the word of wisdom and advice, but at that time I was young and everybody which is right. Yeah. I can give that now to say that don't be impatient. But that time, yes, I was impatient.
Yeah.
Well, if you ask me, because at the end of the day, if the impatient is, I always say, to some degrees, you have to be slightly impatient, because impatient at that time means that you're aspiring, you're ambitious.
Yeah.
or you can call it as impatient. If you're not, then you would not have the fire in your belly to do well and to do. And if you're not that, if you don't have a fire in the belly, then unfortunately the opportunities, you would not recognize the opportunities or the doors opening till that time. If you have the fire in the belly, then only you know, oh, there's an opening or there's an opportunity for me, let me pursue it.
Yeah.
But you have to realize that also it comes with a certain restraint that you have to, again, I can tell now, after being, but at that time young, I rather have somebody in my team who's ambitious, or I have somebody who's got fire in the belly, and I have to kind of control that fire than somebody who I have to start a fire.
Yes, indeed.
If that analogy.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Yeah, no, it's way easier to peg somebody back a little bit. And you don't, and I suppose the key thing when it comes to leadership around that is to not stunt that enthusiasm. You don't want that to be lost. But equally, there's all manner of people that I've had on the podcast who've spoken about one of the great messages, for anybody who's listened to this, who is aspiring to make something of their career, is that yes, have that impatientness, but don't feel like you have to be in a hurry, because actually consolidation of your learning will serve you so much better down the line than in that moment where you think, actually, if I go and take that job and it's another $5,000, wonderful. Yeah. There has to be a bit more kind of measured thought.
Absolutely. Look, I said I'm senior manager, but that doesn't mean that I'm perfect. I'm still learning. And at the end of the day, but you're absolutely, I think what you've said is absolutely right. And everybody at different time of their career, because of the personal reasons, have different priorities. Yeah. And there is no harm and is not acknowledging that if you're, for example, if somebody is starting a family or about to start a family and all that, or want to get involved, that $5,000 or $6,000 is important at that particular time. Yeah. I would say there is no harm in that person should not shy away, because at that time, that is their priority. But then if that is the only thing, then perhaps their salary might be up, but then the experience might. But then perhaps that was the priority at that time. But later on, their priority could be, I'll settle. So there's no harm in what I call it as prioritizing your professional growth in line with your personal commitments or personal lead. Yep. And I think that is much more healthier, because that means one or the other thing is not going to make you frustrated. Yeah. If both are somehow aligned, your personal growth with your personal commitment or personal, if both are aligned, then I think you will be much more happier with what position you're in and what remuneration you're getting for that. Yeah. And I think that's what exactly you said it. So absolutely.
Absolutely. So back to your story, you were sweating by the poolside on a daily basis. Yep. But I was thinking to myself when you said that, we've all probably had roles, if we look back on our career, whereby in the moment, it's not particularly nice to be in. But actually, if you have aspirations to become a leader, I think it's essential that you do these things that you're then going to be asking other people to do, right?
Absolutely. And now I can talk. And actually,
although it's the 11th of January in Surrey, and it's definitely not too hot.
It's not too hot. So that's why I said I like this weather, actually. If I say loudly, not good for me, not good for the business.
Right, yes, well.
So that's why I will choose if it's on balance is even better. No, you're absolutely right what you said. At that particular time, and I can relate to it, at that particular time, I was sweating buckets and I used to, at that time I was impatient, Phil, and I'm not going to deny. I was saying, what, I want to become a supervisor and all, because how long I'm going to do it? And I was thinking that what can we do? What can I do to do?
How can I get to that air-conditioned office?
Yeah, or conditioned office, or go up the ladder kind of, so that I can do it. And that was the case. Now I look back, those first 3 years or 4 years, I would say my assistant, I would say 5 years, those first initial 5 years, where what I call it is my foundation year. And yes, at that time, I was doing long hours, but I had no family. My family was the colleagues which we are working with. Everybody passed out of some college or the other. Maximum that was their second, if not first, it was their second job. So everybody was more or less the same age group. So we were like working till late, early hours, having early tea at 3 or 4 in the morning somewhere, one of the tea stalls or whatever you call it. But at that time and on our off days, we were like broken. But you know what? Now I look back, those were the best days.
Yeah.
But at that time,
maybe it didn't feel that way.
It didn't feel that way. And I think that's why I say you can reflect back, and then those were the best days for two reasons. One was, the sense of camaraderie between the close-knit team, because we all were working hard and kind of thing. That was one. And secondly is that now I look back and I credit as I call those with my foundation years in the hospitality, where I passed out with the hotel management, but it was a theory. Okay. In the reality, how the wine is made, how the different regions of wine, where all the whiskies are distilled, what the process, what is the difference between Pilsner, lager, beer, and all that. We learned all that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But actually, in the real world, that didn't apply as much as it was good to have that knowledge when it is. But so in the real world, it was what were the standards, the training, the basics, that, and it's almost like drip feeding to you, so that till it becomes it was part and parcel of your bloodstream. That 5 years, I say that if I would not have that, then, and I was lucky enough to work in 3 different chains and all were pre-opening in those 5 years. And that, I say that...
Pre-openings. So you were absolutely no stranger to working hard then. The openings are always...
Yeah, but it was a different level, absolutely. I was as a waiter, then I went to another Oberoi, New Delhi as a butler, which was their flagship property at that time. Then I joined Grand Hyatt New Delhi, which was the first Grand Hyatt in the Indian subcontinent. And then I went all way junior levels, waiters to supervisory kind of thing. And then I joined Leela Kempinski, Bangalore.
God, you worked with some great places.
Yeah, so that's fine. And that was, those were the pre-opening again, all 3 pre-openings.
I'm lucky enough to spend a little bit of time on the international recruitment desk for a company called Portfolio, which is now PSD.
Yes.
And of course, I have my own business now and we do bits and pieces overseas. But that time, I spent a year on that international desk. And what it taught me about the international brands and where they are. And now when you reel off places like that, I immediately conjure up all these images of these wonderful 5-star resorts and places that you're working at, which can't but help. You talked about the going out into the real world after theory. The big focus is on standards. And that standards are tough to learn in the real world, but when you've got them under your belt, it's very difficult to unlearn standards.
Absolutely. And I always say, look, at the end of the day, I'll say those 3 brands for me in terms of standards and quality and all that is epitome of luxury hospitality. And there's no denying. Now, within that, at that time, now you have got within their brands, you have got 4-star hotel, 5-star hotel and all that kind of. You're absolutely right. You can learn it. You can tweak it. You don't have to, you can work in a 4-star hotel, but you can be 4-star, but your service could still be 5-star for what you do, right? So, and if you learn those standards, or whosoever learn those, you can never undo if you have it is, and you cannot, and that helps you to strive to do excellence within your parameters as much as possible. And you're absolutely right. If you learn it, and if it is part and parcel, becomes your bloodstream, that you will always remember it. You might tweak it to deliver it depending upon what kind of a property you're working it, but you can either tweak it, adjust the flow or something like that as you require and as the property require where you're working.
Yeah, it becomes part of your identity, really, doesn't
absolutely.
it? Yeah, in every part of your life as well, not just in your work, but what you expect outside in the world as well. But in any case, that's probably a subject for a totally different podcast. But so you're beginning to advance a little bit in terms of your breadth of experience across multiple brands. What happened next?
I was in Leela Kempinski, Bangalore, and then through reference, I got the opportunity to come to Guernsey.
Okay.
Quite funny. Guernsey, I got the job through reference. Guernsey, it's a standalone restaurant in a Guernsey. Trying to nobody knew. Everybody knew Jersey,
right?
Because Jersey cows was quite well known milk product. So, but nobody knew Jersey, or Guernsey. So came to Guernsey and worked in a standalone restaurant. Coming from hotels where you have got 9-10 food and beverage outlets. In a hotel to a standalone restaurant was a shock. And also landing in Guernsey in the middle of November was another shock.
I can imagine. Yeah, we used to go when I worked on cruise ships. St. Peter's Port was often on the the itinerary whenever we're doing Mediterranean trips from Southampton. Yeah. But the amount of times we did not get in because of the weather.
Absolutely.
I don't know. It sits in a place. I think that. Certainly from a sea perspective and wind perspective, it just seems to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. It gets very windy, and the St. Peter, which is technically called the capital or whatever, this hub of Guernsey, it's like a wind tunnel, and especially when it is windy. So I was there for 1 year in the standalone, and then I got the opportunity to come to the mainland UK to work for Hilton. So I came in Hilton Corby again from another unknown Guernsey place to the Corby.
Yeah. Goodness gracious. So if I can take you back slightly, why Guernsey? How did that come about?
Look, Phil, to be honest, again, it was one of those things. I was young, didn't have any responsibility or anything like that. So go back to, again, the same thing what we were discussing earlier on. Our door opened and I went through that out, realizing that we can see it how it happens.
Yeah.
What happens. So actually, I was in India at that time, in Bangalore, Leela, and this came on. This was thought that, you know what, this will give me the opportunity to come out of the country and see a little bit of different side of hospitality outside India.
Right.
And that came, and I thought that, you know what, let's go. What there, again, single, no family, thing to hold me back kind of thing. Yeah. So I just took that, the Guernsey, as I said, if it doesn't work out, I can always come back.
Well, yeah, and that's always that. Yeah.
So that's what it was. Yeah. And hence the reason why. And it was through industry contact only I got that opportunity. So I thought that, you know what, that's fine. And a couple of my other industry colleagues at that time, or with whom I have worked in the 4 years before, someplace or the other, they were also going. So I thought, you know what, if not anything, it will be a good holiday. Yeah, well, which you get paid for.
Yeah, and at least you won't be sweating.
At least I won't be sweating. Yeah, that was the other good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I think everybody will remember that only, that I don't like heat after this podcast.
That's it. That's what we'll just call. We'll call it the title. Your title is how to not sweat.
Yeah.
No, that's great. So then forward into Corby. Yeah. Again, it almost feels like you got a dartboard of the world. And you just throw in wherever it lands, you go.
So it's Corby. Again, I threw caterer actually that time. It was good. So I was looking. So it was good experience. What Guernsey gave a little bit of induction to me is the British culture, if I put it like that. Like, I remember when I came, and Guernsey, a lot of, at that time, what they used to call it, a lot of people used to come from mainland UK to work there, learning different accent, understanding different accent, and that kind of...
I still struggle with that.
Well, so that helped kind of thing. So hence, I was looking to go into the hotels again. And so got the opportunity to come to Hilton Corby, which used to be Stackers. And then when I joined it, so I came there as an assistant restaurant manager, a small hotel, 105 bedroom property. So I joined there in 2003. And then I was with Hilton until 10, I was there. Then I was deputy GM at Hilton Northampton, then deputy GM at Hilton Coventry. And then I left Hilton in 2010, end of 2010. Right.
But I suppose you highlight one of the benefits of joining a big brand as well, is that, especially if you're still harbouring this almost impatientness and aspiration to advance your career, is that big brands can really, really help you do that. If somebody notices you and you're quite fluid in terms of where you can be from a location perspective.
Absolutely, that was the key. And also, I always say, so people, when I've not given an interview for a long time, for a job actually. So when I always divide my initial part of a CV in two. So first 5 years were the fundamentals of hospitality, standards and all that. That I credit to my time in the 3 organizations which I worked, and training, the 4 organizations, if you take Taj as my training kind of thing.
Yeah.
My management experience, a little bit, that I give the credit to Hilton.
Right.
Because I grew as a manager with Hilton.
Yeah.
Because I had the basics, the fundamentals with those 4 brands in India, and my management experiences was given to me by the Hilton, and that's how I kind of divide my initial kind of a career break, if I put it like that.
Yeah.
And there's nothing, and that's what it is. And Hilton, I came in, I worked in a 5-star deluxe hotel. I came to Hilton, they were 4-star, but I brought the standards where possible with me into the Hilton, and that's perhaps helped me to grow within the company from assistant restaurant manager, restaurant F&B, deputy GM, and all that kind of thing. And that's what it is.
Yeah. Did you have, or when in your story to this point, did you have the ambition that you want to become a GM? Was that way back at the beginning, or did it form itself?
No, actually, to be honest, when I was in the early part of my career, if I go back, the journey was always when I can take the next level up.
Right, okay.
And I'll be totally honest with you. And where it leads me to, that's different. So when I was F&B, so the whole idea was when I become an F&B manager, and that will be.
Yep.
And GM wasn't even there at that time. When I became a F&B manager, then which would be in Hilton, then it became the fact that, okay, now what?
Yeah.
So then became that I need to be a GM kind of a thing within. And that's how I would say.
Yeah.
So initial, I will be like saying, well, I had the vision since the time I passed out the hotel management that I want to be a GM. That will be, perhaps that would have happened later on if I would have. But at that time, my thing was, how can I become a supervisor? How can I become assistant manager? How can I become kind of a thing? And duration kind of thing. I need to become within a year and a half, that kind of a thing. And that is the truth.
Yeah.
And whether call it being impatient or having a fire in the belly, perhaps both being, if I reflect back, I think to some extent it is very easy for me to say, don't be impatient, take your time and all. But I think I was that time. But as I said, it's a combination of both. There was a fire in the belly, but at the same time, I was being impatient. I wanted to get a promotion even before I have learned the the task which I was doing.
Yeah, and do you know, from all the people that I've interviewed on the show, I'd probably ask 100 different people, and they all give me very different approaches to career. And I think that's one of the joys of being a human, right? Is that we all think differently, we all have different ideas. I'm 100% with you. That's exactly how I kind of focused my career, was actually just to deal with the job at hand and focus on getting to the next level. I was never a 5-year, 10-year plan kind of a person. Let's just do your best work. Somebody will hopefully notice that, and then eventually when you're ready, you'll get the opportunity you kind of want, rather than being very focused on, I'm going to be a GM by 30 or whatever, which I've also had people on the show who were very clear in that vision as well. So I think the key message from me for that, and why I kind of bring that up, is the fact that everyone's different.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've got to do what's right for you.
My only learning from experience will be is you could have become F&B manager by X age or become a GM of X age. I think, again, now I can reflect back and think, and I say, actually, there should be what I call a TNC at the bottom, also with that kind of a thought process. Is F&B manager of what?
Right, yeah. Well,
GM of what?
Yeah.
You want to become a F&B manager at 25 or GM at 30 of what kind of establishment?
Yeah.
And I think that is much more important than anything else. Perhaps you can become a GM, or you can become again, I can reflect back, but perhaps that was not the thought process which was going at me at that time. But now I said of what?
Yeah.
And I think that is also, and there is nothing wrong in anything. It is just having clear in your mind of what kind of establishment. There is nothing in 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. There is no such thing. There is such thing as snobbery, but we have got all different kind of hotels right around us, and that's what the diversity of hospitality is. That we do not have only 4-star, we do not have any 5-star. We have a different kind of establishments, standalone bed and breakfasts, but brilliant bed and breakfasts.
Yeah.
Or we have got 5-star, we have got 4-star corporate, we have got 4-star standalone kind of a thing. So that, but of what?
Yeah.
And I guess that is the main important thing, is having an ambition to becoming certain position, but of what kind of a profile of property. And I guess that's, I can reflect back, and maybe at that time, maybe that was missing from my end as well.
Right, yeah. But these are all great questions to ask yourself early on. And as you go, also you don't know what you don't know, right? So you're when you just get into your career, you get stuck in, deal with the job at hand, do the best you can. And yes, my aspiration is to get to the next level, but I don't know that this whole world exists over here doing this thing.
Yeah.
And then somebody gives you an opportunity in that thing, and you're like, oh wow, where's this been all my life?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, you just kind of, I suppose, like everything, balance is key, right? You just got to get the balance right between ambition, taking your time, if they can even coexist together, and just be open to opportunity as well, because you just never know when the opportunity presents itself.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. It is just, you need to be, I think, you're right. What you're trying to say is there is not one thing which will make it. It's a combination of various things which will form you as an individual in a career or in a development, and that's what the key is.
And notwithstanding the people you work with in that process as well, and the people who lead you and while you're in your formative years and your foundation years, etc., you work with great people, you generally become better. You work with bad people, then you're all of a sudden thinking, this is not the career for me, or
Absolutely.
And it can be such a make or break moment. What I say to people, if you're not working for somebody that you don't enjoy working for, then go and try and find somebody that you do enjoy working for, because that's it can be the most important thing as to the reason that you get out of bed, is that you feel like the person who you report to has got your back. and vice versa, that you're a team together and that you're moving forward together. And anyway, I'm not going to rant.
No.
So we've already done that podcast before, haven't we? So Hilton, Deputy GM. Remind me which property?
So I was with Hilton Northampton and then Hilton Coventry.
Right, okay. And, well, what happened next?
Yeah, so in Hilton, so I was there till 2010, and then I got my first opportunity to become a GM.
Okay.
At Fawsley Hall, which was a standalone property.
Yeah.
At that time, it was a standalone property. So I joined Fawsley Hall as the general small, which is actually 58 bedroom, 2 restaurant, brasserie, and then we used to have a 3 rosette restaurant that time called, if I still remember, Equilibrium actually, yeah. And then a spa facility kind of thing. So I would say as a first GM gig, perfect.
Well, and independent as well. So
and independent.
Nowhere to hide.
Nowhere to hide. So yeah, that was actually very good because that was I would say that was the first canvas, if I can put it like that, where what I learned is my foundation years in terms of service and standards, plus what I learned as a manager or leader, whatever you want to call it as, in my Hilton era.
Yeah,
I had to apply both.
Yeah.
In certain form or the other, and that was my first, what I call it, like a gig where I had to stand up on the buck stopped with me, if I put it like that.
5-star hospitality means having the right people in the right place at the right time, and that's exactly where RotaCloud can help. RotaCloud is the online platform that makes planning rotas, recording attendance, and managing annual leave easy. Its simple, drag-and-drop interface lets you create and share rotas with your team in minutes, while our built-in budgeting tools mean you'll know exactly how much you're spending on staffing before sending the rota out. RotaCloud also makes life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request time off, and pick up extra shifts, all through the RotaCloud mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotacloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be.
And describe that, if you can remember the feeling of, when you make that step from DGM to GM, buck stops with you, as you say. Now you're responsible for decision making, not necessarily responsible for the decision making in every element of the business. I suppose that's something that comes maybe not initially, maybe as you become more experienced, but one of the secrets to being a successful GM or leader of any business is employ great people who really know what they're doing. But when you make that leap from DGM to GM, is it exciting? Is it scary? Is it all of these things? How does it come together?
It is all unflattering, because at the end of the day, if I put it like that, not from day one you were working for that, but I would say at certain part of my career, you wanted to become a GM. And hence the reason why I'm saying of what was the important part, because so I got a GM of a quintessential English country house hotel, 4 Red Star, 3 Rosette, brilliant, right?
Yep.
Coming from Hilton, what you call corporate Hilton background.
Yes, that's it. I mean, not a natural progression.
I was fortunate.
Ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I was fortunate that my the owner at that time, who was not based in UK, who used to travel quite a lot, was quite traveled. And he knew all the brands, which I was talking about, Leela,
right,
Taj, Oberoi's. He knew the brands, what they represent. We have been to India quite a lot, and he knew Hilton as well. So he understand Fawsley Hall has been at that time running, and he wanted somebody who understands the standards but have got a corporate background also, so have the discipline of both.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what it was. So actually, he was understanding for 4. Okay, so if I put it like that, then it came as the fact that, it was not. If I would have been GM in Hilton, that's slightly different, because I knew the systems, I knew the processes. I'm transitioning from one to the other.
Yeah.
Yes, they will be. I would have been number one, but I would number one of a system which I am very familiar with.
Sure.
So to some extent, I can call for help if I can go with other. But here, it was totally new. So my owner, who was, I call it as Simon Lowe, is. I'd say very open, very flamboyant. But he would say, just remember one thing. If you're making a decision, own it.
Right.
Okay? To your team.
Yeah.
And he said, and that was because obviously he knew that it was the first gig, kind of a thing. He said, own it.
Yeah.
I won't use the word what he said because it's a podcast. If you're doing it, do it with confidence.
Right, yeah.
But you can put the asterisks
Yes,
in
I'll make up
between.
my own sentence in my own head.
So if you say, do it, learn from it. And if it comes to it, owning it, own it. Say that, yeah, I did it. I wanted to do, that was my reason for doing it. It didn't work out. I've learned from it. And I will do it again next time, but I will change certain element which I didn't. So he said, that is the key. So there is nothing worse than a captain who's thinking twice and all that of a ship. It's rather people want to follow the people who are confident.
Yeah.
And if they trust you, you can fight the choppy waters. If they don't trust you, even though you are doing right, you're going to drown the whole ship. Also, you will take it down yourself in even steady waters.
Great analogy.
Yeah, so that's what it is, and then he had kind of thing, and that was it. So that's why it's a combination of being flattered, excited,
Yep.
nervous,
Yep.
being nervous wreck also sometimes. What you call is thinking twice or thrice, perhaps in your head.
Right. Yeah.
What is it? The one thing which helped, and I say now because we talk about, is having somebody in the industry, whether it's one person, two people, or three people, whom you can use it as the sounding board and who can go, whether you can call it as your colleagues, ex-colleagues, peer group, or you may call them as mentor in a formal way.
Yeah, well, mentors come in many forms, don't they?
Yeah.
And they can formal and informal.
Absolutely. And actually, Phil, we are talking more about mentoring now than at the time, and I don't want to sound by saying too old, by saying in my time when I was growing
back
up.
in the day.
Because at that time, mentoring wasn't that a formal thing. Mentoring existed in a very subtle way.
Yeah.
It wasn't there. But nowadays we are talking, because we are talking out of necessity of getting new young talent into the hospitality, and that's why it is out of necessity more like, if you're talking. But that time it didn't existed. But if it did, perhaps it could make life of first-time GMs like myself. Maybe it is there. There might be people who are very comfortable. There's no harm in being confident and being comfortable, but at the end of the day, there is no harm in accepting also that actually you're not, and knocking on the doors whom you think that you can get an advice.
Yeah.
And then I would say it was common, but you're getting an advice, but ultimately the decision
you
still rests on you.
You've got to own it as well.
And you have to deliver.
Yeah.
You can get an advice. We all follow a recipe when we are making something, aren't we? Yeah. But everybody can come up, they can follow the same recipe, use the same ingredient, but the end product will be totally different.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's what exactly it is. I can have a mentor, I can take an advice, but when I implement, but the end product could stay. And that's what it is.
Yeah. I have to say, it's one of the many joys of this industry, I think, is that mentorship, in whatever form you want to call it, whatever it looks like, formal, informal, whatever, it's readily available.
Absolutely.
And even from people that you've never met before in your life. The general feeling that I think across the industry is that, we rise together as an industry, we fight all of the same battles together as an industry. And, because of that, we're here for each other whenever you kind of need it. Nobody really calls on it that often, but it's kind of that, I suppose, that solace in knowing that it's there if you need it.
Absolutely, and that's what it is. And I think that's to some extent. So so going back to Fawsley, so when it was a combination of all those feelings was there at that time.
Yeah.
And that it's almost like adrenaline, it was there. And so that was there. So I was there for 2.5 years.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And what a great first footing, I would imagine, as a GM as well, because independent business as well, nowhere to hide, as we were discussing. And you've got to kind of you've got to be bold in your decision making. You've got to, not hang around and just let stuff happen. You've got to really drive it. Nobody else is responsible for driving the business forward other than yourself. And your team. But you can't call upon a central office to give you the support that you might need in a moment. So actually, what a great training ground, because you've got to take the blinkers right off, I guess, and really focus left, right, centre, up, down, left. All over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. I call it different. I say Fawsley Hall. I use it as a very training around a trial, because what have I learned? That gave me the platform to put it in practice,
right?
Whether as a manager or as a foundation, in terms of quality and processes and all that. So this was brilliant. So as I said, it was a good experience and a good gig for a first-time GM like myself.
Yeah. Is Fawsley still there? Is it still?
It is there, but it is part of a group now. It is
right?
not anymore independent. It used to be, because I moved from there as a result of it getting sold.
Right, got you. Okay, so leads us nicely on to what happened next.
So then I happened to get my next gig, which was very different, Dartington Hall, back down in southwest Devon.
Okay, got you.
So I moved. So 1,200 acres of
wow.
around half an hour from Plymouth, 20 minutes from Torquay, kind of a thing. Very, very different. So I used to manage their Vatables, what I call commercial entity, because it was 1,200 acres. River Dart, 3 miles of River Dart runs through the estate, kind of a thing.
Gracious,
it is a charitable trust,
right?
But I used to manage their what I call commercial arm, especially mainly hospitality. So the main house had 50 odd bedrooms. Then we had another 200 when we used to do arts festival, then restaurant, cafe, kind of thing. Yeah. So that I used to manage that. So I did that for 3 years. So again, very different.
Yeah.
Many sense where you have to balance. I was surrounded by academics, which in my past life I wasn't.
Avoid.
So as I said, the commercial arm which I was heading up is one of, if I put it like that in a hotel sense, it was one department of the trust.
Right.
Then you had a property, then you had a social justice, you had arts college, head of arts college, you had a head of Schumacher College, which was sustainability. Then there was another one or two. So you can see that I was the only one who was non-academic out of the whole group of.
Yeah. You were responsible for making money. They were all responsible for spending money.
They were very good causes, and that was the nature of that fact was that's what yes, but that analogy is absolutely correct. And then they're brilliant. That was a brilliant. I was never surrounded by.
Never come across that before in my life. I think I wasn't even aware that was a thing. It existed.
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, really different. I suppose again, probably taught you some new skills as well.
It was. So there were two. I would say one or two things, and one of the things was which apply in a member environment like this one quite a lot was the fact that Dartington holds very dearly to many of alumni, because Dartington, when it's set in Totnes, Dartington has formed. To some extent, there's how the surrounding area looks like from its heydays, if I may put it like that, because it had a thriving Dartington Crystal, lot of what you call community initiatives and things like that, arts college, So they had a very loyal, vocal, passionate supporters in and around the area, and as a result, they were always on the microscope.
Yeah.
So, which is right to some extent. And I use that analogy that loyal supporters would be, for me here, if I put it like that, are members.
Yeah.
They paid, but they pay for Foxhills, but the only thing is they can go and be a member somewhere else. The only reason because they feel part and parcel of the community. And I say to my staff, when we let them down, if we have done it, it's almost like your family member has let you down.
Yeah, sure.
So they're upset, but they're upset. Disappointed will be rather
which is far worse.
Which is far worse than being upset. I'm disappointed here.
It's the word you never want to hear, isn't it?
So Dartington was one of those kind of place where I learned, and also I learned how to at Dartington, even though it's a commercial, but you cannot make all the decision commercial purely based because it has to fit in with the what you call all the vision of the trust. And so it's almost like the only way I can describe is it's like, you have got marketing, accounts, HR, housekeeping, reception and all that. They're different departments. They have their own way of working, own priorities and all that, but they're different departments. So in Dartington, the hotel, the commercial arm was one, but many used to call it was frowned upon because everything else were doing all the nice things, right? They were like living and breathing all the things morally, ethically, what they will call it. And we were the one who was trying to make the money by charging 30%, 50% extra on it, covering the cost and making the profit kind of. So it was always sometimes some people can look at this frowned upon. So that was the case. But I learned a lot there. I learned, and some of the things were the brilliant initiatives were. So one of the things there was. Which started because I wanted what I call the commercial arm to somehow align their vision and their of working with the trust. So one of social justice, one of key with it. So our laundry service actually used to come from the local prison in local, as I said, half an hour from there. And it was carry on to set it up because they wanted to it. Because that was one of the initiatives from the prison, so that they are the prisoners who were there, so that it can give them some life skills to when they're. So they must have wood, carpentry and cooking and all that going on, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But one of the time with the laundry service, it helped us because that was one of the, and it helped. But it was right because our laundry used to get checked. And, sometimes it happens. You had an event, you folded all the laundry, put it in the bag, goes to laundry. And the next day, the laundry company, 10 sets of knives and forks have come, by the way, in your laundry bag. But obviously, it's a metal, right?
Yeah.
So in the prison, the alarms will go, the whole thing will come to shut down. And as a result, you realize that next day, your laundry is delayed because we have caused the prison system to shut down for a good few hours because something metal in the table knife has gone through the...
My life, yeah.
So it is. So hence, we had to make sure that we had to be aware and we had to set it up for additional 2 days of backup because of this in case. So those kind of a thing, which you never thought about it before.
No.
You have to think that you have to do these things, which is good. But then you have to...
Yeah, good.
You have to think about...
new detail that you need to know.
That means you have not only you have to make sure the staff get training not to send even a single piece of cutlery with that, but also the fact that just in case if they do, you have the additional 2 days of laundry in your backup as part of your part stock, just in case if we cause, or for some reason, not only us, if the prison services go and the lockdown because one or the other reason, which is nothing down to us.
Yeah.
So that means what happens?
Yeah.
So as a result, you always have to have a 2 days of backup part stock of the laundry. So these, it was a brilliant.
You live and learn these
things. You
things.
live and learn. You never thought that would have done, but you had to learn.
Yeah, and I suppose as well, it kind of almost feels like because of that job, because of your previous job as well, is that it is almost like all roads lead here.
Yeah, well, there's another stop. Yeah, so, and there was a 169-seater barn converted cinema where you used to say newly released James Bond movie, but at the same time you're screening a live opera from somewhere in London kind of a thing.
Right.
So before I came here, I stopped into Scotland on the way.
Of course you did.
So then I worked for just over a year with McDonald Hotel Group.
Yeah.
And then I went I took a break for I think it was 3 or 4 months. I went back to India because of my parents' ill health. Subsequently, my mom and my dad passed away because of their health. And then when I came back, then I thought that, then I started looking for a job after, I think I did temp job here and there. And then, then Foxhills came through. And there I say is the fact that when I was saying about the mentoring, it did because I happened to apply for Foxhills also and through what they call not a designated mentor or not the formally said, but who I would knock on their door to advise or something and they help with me kind of a thing. And they happen to also recommend me there and all that. So kind of, where you said Foxhills was waiting for you. To some respect, yes. And over 5 years and I'm here.
But I love that. I love that serendipity, right? That's what they call it, I think, where everything just feels like it's come together at the right place, the right time. It's the right people and all of that stuff. And you've been there 5 years. You've also evolved in that time as well. But your role has evolved in that time. You started here as general manager?
I did. So I started here in 2018 as a GM of Foxhills. And then, and in April last year, I took over as the MD of Foxhills Collection, which means Foxhills and Fawsley Golf Club. And hence the reason I said I manage under 75 whole golf course, but I don't play.
So play, yeah. But I've had a brief walk around. Sure. You've got a lot going on.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's January, of course. There's less going on just in terms of activity because nobody wants to come out in the freezing cold. But I can imagine in the height of summer that the buzz around this place is quite incredible.
Absolutely, and I think we have 440 acres, right? When you come up the drive, the only thing you'll find out that we're busy is because the car park is busy. But when you come to the heart, where we are kind of sitting, out of that, perhaps 200-odd people, 250-odd people are on the golf courses. They are spread around in what I call is majority of 400 acres of because habited part, if I may put it like that, is in the rest of the... so that's what it will be. And that it is going on. We have got, as I said, we have over 200 classes a week being delivered, whether you call it golf lessons,
embroidery,
painting. We have got table tennis. We have right now just paddle is open, pickleball courts will open. So we have got, you name it. We have got gym classes going on. We got love to learn golf for golfers going on. So we have got over yogas and Pilates and all that. If you put that aside, we have got roughly around just over 200 classes, sessions a week, which we deliver. Yeah. So which is quite a lot. We have members, young, of all demography. We have got some members who are 4th generation of members, who are there in the family. So But it comes with what I call responsibility. Where say, if we don't serve it, they will feel disappointed.
Indeed, yes.
And that is harder than being...
Those are the words that you do not want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're having, I suppose, evolved yourself here as from being general manager into MD, going back to that feeling of jumping from DGM to GM. Much the same emotions, different this time because you've got the, I suppose, years of experience behind you now and a kind of almost a confidence that I can do this.
Absolutely. Again, it's the same thing. You always feel flattered that you're good, excited, you're going to do it. Bit anxious that, you were fine with the GM. Are you going to do this? Can you pull it off as an MD, or whether you did it just because? And I'm not. It's not being confident. It's almost like I say. It's not being anxious or doubting yourself. It's always. I feel it certainly, and there's no right over, but that's it's always good to have a little bit of question yourself, so that you can keep your feet in the ground. If not, then you'll say, well, it is. And I guess to some extent, not being anxious and totally messing up the things, but being anxious enough that you always value and you don't become complacent.
Yeah.
And that's what the key is. You don't become, because complacent, if you become complacent, that's my opinion.
End.
That is the end, because you will say, you know what, I can do with this with my eyes closed.
Yeah. It's almost like having a healthy humility.
Absolutely.
To the
whether
situation.
you call it as being slightly anxious, whether you question yourself, or whether you say that humility, whatever it is, but it's always good to bet yourself. That is certainly my philosophy. And I said, and as you correctly mentioned, hospital, there's no right or wrong. So actually, somebody can say it wrong, but that is me. That you should always be a bit humble and always little bit have a doubt that don't become complacent.
Absolutely. But own your decisions, though. Own your decision
with confidence. With asterisks and all that in between.
Confidence and humility.
So I think the key is my transition from GM from one property, then becoming MD, where I am more involved in one property, and then with another competent GM in another golf club overseeing, is the fact that it's a transitioning.
Yeah.
So how I described it, and I've got a mentor to help me with that, is the fact that it's almost like the only way I can describe this, Phil, is the fact that so far I have performed in the business by getting deep dive into, nuts and bolts and all that kind of thing. But it's slightly changing in where you almost need to know the business, but to some extent, the only way I can describe without rolling up your sleeves.
Yeah.
And perhaps wrong way to describe it, right? I don't know how I can do it. So it's almost like, because you cannot work full time in two different outlets, two different venues. How I used to work here when I became a GM, I knew how I came to know Foxhills by working here, whatever hours I was working, by knowing the Foxhills. But I cannot do that because I've got two. I cannot lose the sight of hair because I don't want members and staff to say, Tej, you were visible. Now, members saying that, Tej, where are you?
Yeah.
You're not. So can't lose that touch as well, because we are a member environment, and member environment and we are a family-run business. And then at the same time, I need to learn Fawley, but I cannot do the full-time hours there. So how do I learn? So my mentor said that is art of influence. How you learn is the fact that how you influence the decision. So now you have to become influencer, where you're influencing the decision making by empowering and by doing kind of a thing. So that's what it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's all part of your evolution, right? Yeah. In terms of you're now learning something new, but also, I suppose, having the confidence that, one, you know the people of the business. You've been here for 5 years. You've been working with the same owner through that time as well, absolutely. I would imagine. So, there's continuity there, which helps in terms of set that foundation to be able to own your decisions, to, especially when you're getting your head around a different business. So many things to, I suppose, just keep you progressing forward as well.
Absolutely. And I think the key is also self-development or continuous development is also important, because otherwise you can become a self. But at the end of the day, not forgetting the day job.
Yeah.
And I admire some of the people in the hospitality who I'm connected with. They are continuously doing something or the other in courses and all that. And I think I need to get much, much, much better in doing that as well, along with that. And to some extent in getting involved in Institute of Hospitality, master holders, and doing these kind of things with you gets you out of the daily rut kind of thing, if I may put it like that, and makes you think also and do. And that's the...
I could not agree more. This is almost, I wouldn't classify this as academic learning. this is practical learning in some ways, I
absolutely.
suppose. But this has been a real privilege for me to run this little show. The amount of people that I've sat with and had discussions with, and you learn something from every single one of them. And so I think doing this podcast has made me a better human being. And that, and I'm not saying that cliched or flippantly or whatever. I genuinely mean it, because I'm taking little pieces of knowledge from lots and lots of people, and hopefully I'll have the meaning of life at the end of all this.
You can write a memoir. You can write a big book.
It's coming. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, hospitality, as I said, you learn from experiences.
Yeah.
And you cannot replicate the learning. And that's why I said, I think you said it in initial leadership. You can have a mentor. They can tell you what to do, what not to do. But when it comes to implementation, you cannot cut and paste.
No.
Copy and paste or what we want. You will have to edit it, because no two situations are the same.
Yeah.
No two human beings are the same. And no two people who are going to do the copy and paste will be the same. So there are a lot of anomalies. So actually, you have to be smart also about. Yeah. You can blag through, which you can say to anything up to certain level. Afterwards, you won't be able to.
No, indeed. Yeah.
And that's the only thing it will be is, you're absolutely right there.
Yeah. Brilliant. I mean, it seems as if, because obviously Foxhills has got quite an incredible history. I was reading about it on the website before we came over. Clearly, it continues to evolve, because you've got a mix of very old buildings, very new buildings. I suppose that's also, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's part of the success of the places, that you're not standing still.
Absolutely. And I was doing, I don't know for what reason, I was doing an exercise I was doing on a piece of paper only. It was very rough. In the 5 years' time I've been here, how much is the investment has gone into the Foxhills? And the figure came to roughly just under 18 million.
Really? Right.
Yeah. And that doesn't.
That's all on you, is it?
No. Well, no, I'm not. I'm not. And that doesn't include that, boiler is broken down, so you have to change the boiler and all that. It is refurb to enhance the customer journey front of it. It doesn't take into account that, refurb has gone or there's a leak, so we have to repair the boiler and all that. Excluding all that kind of.
Well, that's the stuff that just happens, isn't it?
So look, at the end of the day, we opened, just coming out of May 21 after COVID, we opened our family building, 1,700 square meter of family building called Pavilion.
Yep. That was brilliant, by the way.
Yeah, that is 7.5 million actually. So there is a big ticketed item.
Yeah. And
then there are many small. In 2019, we opened Yoga Cabin in Larchwood, Yoga Cabin, which was 1 million. We did it, Fox Restaurant refurb. And those are the things this year it just started. Last year, we did refreshments of our spa locker room, which was just under 200K. We did, this year, again, last year I meant.
Of course, we have to remember now. We've just got into 24,
golf, changing rooms that again, constantly on the golf courses and all that. So it's continuous. And that's what it is, isn't it? At the end of the day, we have to. And let's not forget is the team, the people also, the owner are very much, and myself including, are very much into promoting from within, certainly of certain positions, whether they are, especially supervisors, if I say, and I use it, and I'll go back to when we were talking about the reward, and that I mean by, if we can't promote supervisor in any department from within, then there's a serious problem with the heads of department and the kind of people we are recruiting.
Right. Yeah.
I totally understand when going higher and higher, that pool gets smaller and smaller. But if he cannot recruit a supervisor in any department, if he cannot promote when a position becomes a supervisor within the pool of people we have, then we have to question ourselves.
Yeah.
And that is. So yeah, there's a constant investment going on, and I guess that's what keeps us moving, and that is one of the reasons I've sustained here for more than 5 years. Yeah, otherwise I would not have been delivering.
Yeah, when the projects run out, that's me, I'm done. No, but I suppose it's almost essential, because you also have a membership element here that a lot of other places won't have. And with a membership environment, there's usually a level of expectation. As we've discussed, the last thing you want to hear is them ever being disappointed. But at the same time, you need to keep giving them reasons to want to come and be part of this, right?
Absolutely. Like our membership year is coming to renewal in May, and we had our meeting for setting up what should be the rates and all that kind of thing, and what's happening. Gym refurb is coming, which will happen, and paddle tennis and all that, which is 350K project and all. So we have to do it. You're absolutely right, because then as a consumer, you have to do it, because otherwise everything becomes stale. Yeah. And what we have spent right now, 4 or 5 years' time. We have bedrooms. We are refurbing 6 bedrooms from 22nd of January. And then next year, we're going to refurbish Lion House, which has got 27 bedrooms more. So those are the continuous, absolutely right. We have to, it's not only for the customer, from people point of view as well, from the staff point of view, you want to work in a place. And by no means we are perfect. Actually, we have got many faults. We can do much better in terms of looking after our people in developing. And I'll be the first one to say that actually we are just scratching the surface in terms of whatever we are doing.
Right.
But again, you can always do it better. Hospitality, long time back, our show, hospitality is what is wow today is expectation tomorrow.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah, whether it's a customer or whether it's from the staff expectation point of view.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we are not even there. We are standalone. We can do much better with our benefits. We can do much better with, many things, kind of thing. So yes, absolutely. We are not so by no means I'm sitting here and preaching people to do, because there are many industry colleagues, peers and all, who I can learn immensely, or we senior management team here can learn immensely and implement here. And that's what it is. So from that point of view, we have to constantly invest, whether it's the customer journey or whether it's the team's journey point of view. So that because team nowadays want to work, who are treated well and who are they see the companies adding value to their life, whether it's a professional or personal.
Yeah. But your attitude towards that is exactly what we were talking about. It's that healthy humility again, right? It's the knowing that we're not the finished article. And the newsflash, you're never going to be the finished article, right? But you've got to keep pushing for that unachievable perfection, because that's when the great stuff happens, And,
absolutely.
And you find an innovation that you didn't know was a thing, and all of a sudden, as you say, today's innovations are tomorrow's standard.
Like Wi-Fi, it was a luxury at one time. It's a necessity now.
Do you remember the days when you had to pay 25 quid a day or something for
that.
Wi-Fi?
I had to go. I used to be duty manager. I have to go and argue with the customer that you have to pay this.
Yeah.
And now it's a necessity. And there was a time when you had to pay for it.
Indeed. I remember when I think it was Gloman Hotels in London were the first London-based hotel group, I think, to just say, right, Wi-Fi is now included in the room rate. And then, of course, people just follow suit because you kind of have to. But
you have to. You can't stay still.
No,
you have to. You could be innovative, but at the same time, you have to be practical as well.
Yeah,
you have to some extent, follow the pulse of what you call industry are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I've taken up a lot of your time.
No, thank you very much.
I much appreciate you sharing your story. A question I'm just going to ask you very quickly. If you have got anything to mind, don't worry. If not, we'll skirt over this. But do you have any funny anecdotes from your career so far? The stuff where you just, I don't know, out of your depth, or just, that you now look back on and just laugh?
As I said, that's the only thing which I said when I joined, as my owner said it. I don't know whether I can say it. And that is the one funny, own it. Only if I use still a rude word, but politer, I will own your shit.
Yep.
Okay?
That's great advice.
Say that if you're doing it, just go through it, be confident.
Yeah.
And then, but owning doesn't mean that it is that positive. Owning means just own it up. Put your hands up and say that actually it is there, and then learn from it.
Yeah.
And two things will come out of it. Respect that you are actually blame. We say, no, that person CC culture where you're copying people because they don't want to. One is that. And secondly is people will respect you actually more. And that indirectly you are influence people to take empowerment and take accountability, because they would not feel scared. They can think that, and I say around here, Phil, I say, you know what, I say it in the Foxhills, and perhaps I say it I'm known to be a very sarcastic and cynical person. And
my kind of guy.
That kind of a guy. And I said that, you know what, I do majority of the mistakes at Foxhills because I take majority of the decision or the ownership of majority of the. So actually, I will be the fine one to tell you, you have done wrong, whereas I take majority of the decision. So the things which can go wrong in my column are much more possibilities than it will be.
Right.
So actually, and one of our here is, I'm going back again, sorry, I know you asked on it, it should stop at the funny part, but
that's right.
One of our values is never stop learning, is at Foxhills, and that's what it is. And that is, to some extent, is connected to that, is the fact that, you know what comes with innovation, before innovation are failures, series of failures. Then only you suddenly have a eureka moment where you said, you know what, oh wow, I finally nailed it.
Yeah.
But you have series of failures. The only thing is that's what our value is, never stop learning. What it's saying, do errors, do mistakes, don't do the same mistakes again and again.
Yeah.
Do new one, that's fine, no problem. But don't do the same. And if you do it, own it.
Yeah.
No problem with that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I think, that's what the hospitality is, isn't it?
For sure. And you can't, it's very difficult to get through a day without some form of mistake / learning opportunity. But, that is ultimately how we get better, right? And I think even if you read autobiographies of all the world's successful entrepreneurs, they'd probably all put their advice 101 is to fail fast. And I think it was Branson maybe that said double your failure rate if you really want to be successful. Because, success is ultimately 99 mistakes before you hit the one thing that worked. So yeah, I completely agree with you 100%.
If you made a mistake, just own it. Don't bullshit.
Yeah.
Sorry. Again, I
oh
don't
God,
know.
you're just throwing your mouth off today. Fantastic. Great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Phil.
It's been a pleasure to chat.
Absolutely.
And once again, thank you for your wonderful hospitality here.
My pleasure.
I feel
I've
very
enjoyed it.
privileged.
And please feel free for your constructive feedback.
Fantastic.
I'll own my
Indeed.
my stuff.
Wonderful. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
And there we have it. What a fabulous career Tej has had so far, with some great learnings all the way through. Again, a huge thank you to him for hosting me at Foxhills. We will of course be back next Wednesday with another wonderful story from hospitality, but until then, thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.